There were times when I used to carry out 20, 25, 30 or even 35 abortions every day. We used to work 5 days a week.
Dr. Adasevic was for a long time convinced that what he was doing was merely removing so-called postnatal tissue from a woman's body. Not until he carried out the 9th abortion on his cousin's fiancée did he change his mind.
I opened up the womb, tore the placenta, the birth waters flowed out, and I got to work on the insides with my abortion forceps. I grabbed something, crushed it a little, removed it, and threw it onto a cloth. I look and I see a hand, quite a large hand. The child was 3.5, perhaps 4 months old. I had no tape to measure it. Someone had spilled some iodine on a part of the table, and the hand fell in such a way that the nerve ends came into contact with the iodine. And what happened? I look and I say, "My God, the hand is moving by itself." I nevertheless carry on with my forceps, and again catch something, crush it and pull it out. I think to myself, let it not be a leg. I pull and look. A leg. I want to put the leg on the table, carefully, so that it isn't near the moving hand. As my arm falls, I hear a bang behind my back. I jumped, and automatically my grip on the forceps loosened. At this very moment, the leg completed a somersault and landed next to the hand. I look. Both hand and leg are moving by themselves. I nevertheless once again direct my instrument into the womb and begin to crush everything inside. I think to myself that all I need to complete the picture is the heart. I continue to crush and crush and crush until I am sure that I have ground everything inside into a pulp, and once again pull out the forceps. As I pull out the mass, thinking it will be bone fragments, and lay it on the cloth, I look and I see a human heart, contracting and expanding and beating, beating, beating. I thought I would go mad. I can see that the heartbeat is slowing, ever more slowly and yet more slowly still, until it finally stops completely. Nobody could have seen what I had seen with my very own eyes and be more convinced than I was that I had killed a human being. I used to do it carelessly, ever faster, reacting ever more nervously to women. They were matter, they were not women as people. One had to perform one's task as quickly as possible, a predetermined number of operations a day, and then immediately leave the surgery. There were feelings of unease, a glass of cognac, alcohol, any kind of tranquilizer, and that would suffice. They taught us and they told us that life began with the first cry, when a baby cries for the first time, that up to that moment a human being is like any other organ in a mother's body, like an appendix. The removal of an appendix from a mother's body is not murder. Only a child that had been born and had cried could be killed. If it hasn't cried, then there can be no talk of murder. That is why immediately after birth, children were taken and their heads submerged in a bucket of water. A child would then take in water instead of air and would never cry. That was therefore not regarded as murder. Terrible, but that is how things were.
The discovery of the ultrascanner was a breakthrough in gynecology. The ultrascanner made possible the observation of human life in the fetus. It immediately became apparent that by the 3rd week of a pregnancy, the child's heartbeat becomes synchronized with that of its mother, that by the 5th week the child reacts to a caress. The measurement of brain waves confirmed that such touches bring pleasure, that that the child feels pain. In the United States of America, over half of women who were committed to having an abortion decided against a termination after seeing their child on an ultrascan screen and hearing its heartbeat. However, not in all countries is the ultrascanner used to prevent abortions.
Abbiamo poi scoperto che l'ecografo serviva per una
With time, we discovered what the ultrascanner was used for in Albania. It is clear that in a country where poverty is every day and where men rule, the birth of a girl in a poor family makes the family feel even poorer. Why? Because the new arrival is not someone who in the future could bring in an income. And so a new precedent was set. Not invented by Albanians, but one that is also well known throughout southern Asia. Families force pregnant mothers to have an ultrascan to determine the child's sex. If it's a boy, then everything is okay. If, however, it turns out to be a girl, then the fetus has to be removed. The pregnancy has to be into its 4th or even 5th month before an ultrascan will show a child's sex. That means that a woman must wait 5 months before she can determine the child's sex.
Questa fase, arrivare al 5º mese per vedere il sesso.
Abortion is legal here up to the 3rd month. However, there is also a special commission that can allow abortions to be carried out beyond the legal limit. It can happen that the commission will, for a bribe, prepare a falsified report. Later, hospital staff are obliged to respect the decision of the special commission. Such fraudulent decisions are, in the majority of cases, issued on the grounds of the mother's ill health.
Getting rid of girls in Albania is a widely practiced fact can clearly be seen from the national statistics. In countries with a normal demographic distribution, there are always more women than men. However, in Albania, there are up to 6% more men than women. Such a state of affairs would not be possible were it not for the mass annihilation of female fetuses.
In fact, very early on, as a small child, I thought about how it is that a child can land in a dustbin.
In der Mülltonne oder wo landet und das hat mir eigentlich
That thought has remained with me right through to adulthood. I found out that a company employed to keep the city clean has a lorry assigned to disposing of containers that it collects from an abortion clinic, and that these containers hold pieces of children. I inquired at the company and was informed that the containers were taken to an incinerating facility in Simerin. There, at a temperature of 1200 degrees centigrade, the children's remains are burned in a blazing incinerator. The remaining ashes are then transported to be stored at the local authority tip. It is to this place that all of Austria's hospitals send their so-called medical waste for burning, including the remains of the killed unborn children.
Und dass hier alle Krankenhäuser aus Österreich ihre sogenannten medizinischen Abfälle, wo auch die getöteten ungeborenen Kinder dabei sind, hier abgeliefert werden zur Verbrennung.
According to Austria's Medical Association, over 84,000 abortions are carried out every year in our country. If we spread this out over 20 years or so, we get a number approaching 2 million. The number of children that have been burnt in this incinerator and whose remains have been cemented at this depot.
What happened was we brought to the problem so many different aspects. We brought political. We were involved in all-night prayer vigils. we had debating, we had a demonstration, they had blocking the clinics, they had rescue, everything. See, holding taxes back. I was involved in everything, okay, all the way through. So, but what has happened is that for myself, I went through each of these stages, trying desperately to stop this tidal wave of death, and with relative, not really too successful in terms of, yes, you save here and there, but the tidal wave of death was coming. But I was really sitting in front of the Blessed Sacrament in '89. I had been involved in rescue and everything else. And I basically said to God, I finally give up. I cannot do it.
In the summer of 1989, Father Riley lost all hope. He was completely desperate, to the point where he cried out to God, "What am I to do? I have, after all, tried everything." It was then that he heard a clear voice saying, "Why do you not try to pray? Why is prayer not first and foremost?" He thought it through and decided to completely change his approach. Prayer first, then fasting, and the sacrifice of suffering.
Vienna was in 1995 the first European city to adopt this new approach. In this chapel, located near an abortion clinic, the adoration of the Holy Sacrament is unceasing. An hourly two-people duty roster ensures that 48 people pray here every day. Another 2 people stand at the clinic entrance between 10 and 4, ready to meet any women going in. One person prays the rosary, whilst the other tries to talk to those going in. As a result, the last couple of years have seen 4,500 women decide at the last minute against having an abortion.
I fought with my parents, especially with my father, who told me that he would pay for the abortion, but not to support the child. I was already in the clinic, waiting my turn. They were just about to give me an injection. It was then that I said, "No, please let me get up." They explained that the injection was nothing to be frightened of. I said that the injection did not scare me, rather that I wanted to have the child. My getting up was for me a symbol, a life-shaping experience. It was like getting up in defense of my child, against this mass of people, against my parents, my husband, my friends. This is not a purely human battle, but also very much a spiritual one. It's about fighting the forces of evil. That is why praying before the clinic is so important for us. There is always someone praying for the conversion of doctors, as well as for the opening of women's hearts. Simply talking to women is not enough. The conversation will not open them. Father Riley has said that the women who go to the clinic have deep in their heart and soul already carried out the abortion. It has already come to pass. That is why only to talk does not make much sense. A conversion of heart is needed.
I'm very, very, very happy. I don't know what I should do because I've never given birth before, and this is my first baby, so I'm very proud of the baby. And then sometimes it's just come to my mind that if I go and throw this baby out, I'm sad. When the baby comes, I cry a lot because I pray to God that He should forgive me because I don't know. And when I hold her like this, then I feel happy.
And I'm so thankful to God also that He led me the hands of Life Center, and to know that to abort the baby is not also good, and I feel good when I see my baby. Yeah, I feel quite okay with him.
Well, in the Brooklyn diocese, we had 43 places that were functioning as killing centers. And in 10 years, 23 places closed. Right? In New York State, there were 37 clinics closed. Right? And across the country, I've lost track. I know that when we started, if we got one woman to turn around New York City to choose life, we were very, very happy, and rightfully so. At the present time, each year in New York City alone, we get approximately 5,000 women who choose life. Right? And it is in Detroit, Michigan, and they started the Help Us approach outside of 2 clinics. And in the past 2 years now, they have confirmed 2,050 lives saved.
In the last 7 years, left-wing gangs have attacked the Life Center 13 times. Windows have been broken, interiors demolished, and a hard-smelling substance was once thrown inside, the effects of which were impossible to remove many weeks later. Neighbors living on the floor above, unable to withstand the smell, decided to move out. Because of the smell, no one wanted to move in, and so prices fell rapidly. It was then that a decision was taken by the Life Center to buy the apartments. The day after the sale, the smell disappeared. The apartments were organized into homes for single mothers. Therapy for people suffering from the consequences of abortion is now also available there.
Medicine describes post-abortion syndrome as a complex variety of symptoms. Investigations have shown that women who have had an abortion display a classical range of both bodily, psychophysical, as well as psychotic symptoms. Sometimes when during my practice I meet women after an abortion, I am under the impression that they are describing their symptoms from a book. That is how classical these symptoms are.
War da dieses Gefühl von schwanger zu sein, und das fand ich wunderschön.
Being pregnant is a wonderful feeling. My feelings told me something different than my intellect. I felt happiness, quite simply bliss. However, the man responsible for that happiness, who had up to then been so close, suddenly began to treat me like an enemy. That was for me the worst of all things. I clearly remember when I crossed that barrier, when I gave in and turned against the child.
Und ich weiß noch ganz genau, wie das war, wie ich dann diese Barriere
I threw it out of my head.
Das heißt, seinem Druck nachgegeben habe.
I threw it out of my heart.
Mich gegen
It was the most damaging decision of my life. I am absolutely convinced.
Und das war die zerstörerischste Entscheidung meines Lebens, also da bin ich mir ganz sicher.
Es ist fast wie ein Knopfdruck, Das Gewissen ist abgeschaltet, die Intuition ist abgeschaltet.
It's like pressing a button. Your conscience is switched off. Your intuition is switched off. Tears are at this moment turned off. One does not cry during an abortion. Any feelings just die. One stands as if next to oneself, and one feels nothing. Later on, and for many years, I would dream about the child. In one of the most terrible dreams, I would see the child hanging over a precipice, with people standing all around, but no one moved to help save him. One cannot bribe one's conscience. One cannot bribe one's soul.
Unbestechlich. Die Seele ist unbestechlich.
Dann falle ich in Depression und da komme ich nicht raus, weil ich einfach dann
I became a depressive, and I couldn't get out of it. I was continually frightened. I very often had nightmares. I was scared of snakes. I lay in bed but could not sleep. I was under the impression that there was a whirling mass of snakes under my bed.
Es ist so, helfen kann man nur jemand, der die Hilfe auch möchte und der auch bereit ist, innerlich bereit ist.
You can only help someone who wants to be helped and who is ready deep inside to confront the issue, to reject the lie that it wasn't a child. That is the decisive step, to admit, yes, it was a child. Yes, I did it. A woman must admit that she did something bad. Only then can she be reconciled. The reconciliation must involve everyone. First of all, God, the giver of all life. Secondly, the child, the victim. Thirdly, everyone else involved. And lastly, the woman must forgive herself.
Ich also gesagt habe, ich will die Schulung mitmachen, aber dann hat eben die Frau Dr. Stummer, habt ihr die kennengelernt? Frau Dr. Stummer,
I got to know Dr. Rosa Stummer during a training session at the Life Center. She helped me get through the reconciliation process. Thanks to her, I named my child. It was a boy. He would be 40 years old today. I bought him a christening candle. We jointly analysed my whole past. I prayed for my past. I prayed for forgiveness. I feel a lot better since I began praying and working through my past. I now work at the Life Center. I believe that the work I do on the streets is my calling.
Eben in der Fürbitte jetzt dieser Straßendienst.
Die Rachel-Gruppe, das ist eine Selbsthilfegruppe von Frauen.
We have a group called Rahel, made up only of women who help other women suffering from the post-abortion syndrome. The women have to complete short questionnaires, 8, 9 questions about what would have stopped you from having an abortion. There are several answers that the women can underline. For example, had I known that this is a new human being? Or had I received financial aid? But there is one answer that the women all underline. Had someone given me a cuddle and consoled me, then the abortion could have been avoided.